Hello everyone. Good evening on this 11th of April 2025. This image of this stern, grumpy, distrustful, skeptical, tired, I don't know. You can tell me in the chat what feelings, what expressions and emotions that this image conjures for you. I did a version of this already, and it must have been the end of December last year. It was not in live stream time, but I have already shared the reference in the past, and I'm about to show you because it was a piece where I was like, wow, this is so cool. And sometimes I have these portraits that I do where I'm like, wow, there's something really awesome about this, and then I just kind of keep going and don't really, although there's something about it that I like, I don't always make like a really clear effort to follow that path and do more. So it is a perfect pick indeed. Hello, Corinna, Ingrid, Lisbeth, Rave222, Oliver, Wolverine, and Cindy. It's so nice to have you here. Anyone else who's in the live chat, say hello. If you're watching the replay, say hello in the comments as well. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. That's always a good thing to do too. So I will show you. And by the way, this is courtesy of Owasso Found Photos, whose images we have sketched from a few times. Very cool. Oh, the nice. Seems more like confident, cool view to me somehow. Yeah, confident. Is it because of the style, this confidence, or is it in spite of the style? Does it have nothing to do with the style? I wonder a lot about this child who maybe 100 years ago was dressed up to have this photo taken. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows what life they lived? Feel free to keep speculating upon this child. Hi hola to you, Lewis. So let's have a look. This is an ink piece that I did. Oh, it's kind of tricky to show you here at the moment, but I like it a lot, and it's watery, and it also has some really nice definition. Oh, look at that! It can focus. Yeah, I like this a lot. And so this, I can't remember when it was, but it was definitely the end of December because it was between my December live streams and the January live streams. And there was something about just like letting it kind of loosely blur out to the sides. I was like, wow, this is cool. I like this. And then I just went on and went definition, hatching line work, and didn't really pick up the thread of what it was that I liked so much about it. Oh, and by the way, his silage from yesterday that I spent a little bit more time on, and it was definitely worth it. So thank you so much to everyone who joined yesterday. You can catch the replay of this and all of my other live stream replays in the live tab of my YouTube channel. Rave222 says, baby girl did not want to sit for that pic. Yeah. Hi, Uta. All right, let's do it. Actually, I'll reopen the sketchbook so I can have channel some of that, maybe that looseness, because that's what I'm trying to do with wet media this month. Watercolor, wet media, is to go loose. And I started really loose with Silas yesterday, and it was all like dreamy and confusing and scary. And then I went and added more definition to it, and I'm glad that I did. But I really enjoyed that loose, dreamy beginning, and then I just kept working on it. All right, we ready? Are you ready? Am I ready? Is anyone else working with watercolor? That would be interesting to know. Everything is just here exactly how I dropped it last night. Okay, I think I'm ready. So there, Owasso Found Photos. Be sure to follow on Instagram and tag. They're incredible photos that have been made available. And I was just having a look. I was like, maybe there are other found photo accounts, and there are some others. Rave222 on your pencil game. Excellent. Here we go. Elizabeth has a feeling it's a boy because of the strong resemblance to your youngest brother. Interesting. This kind of association things. I'm like, it doesn't matter. This person is totally them. And we're going to do this portrait now. So I'm going to start without a drawing. This is what I've been bravely doing recently. I'm going to make sure you can see it. So I may add some definition similar to the ink portrait that I did, but I'm going to start loose and dreamy. And I mentioned recently how this hot pink and transparent orange that I have in here, these neighbors, I did a whole live stream where I did like 10 portraits a while back, all with that combination. And that's what I'm going to use today. That's at least what I'm going to start with, and we'll see what happens. Interesting. Okay. I'm wondering, should I start with the surrounding area or with the... I wonder, what if I do everything else first? And leave the portrait. What's this collar about? So now I'm just putting some water on here, which the paint will flood into, and that could be interesting. There is, I talked about this idea of taping down the edge of the page. You can see this green tape, because I had a piece that I did where the whole paper just went like whoop, and it totally worked. Like taping down the edges of the page to hold it in place worked. There's still a bit of warp to it, like you can see here that there's a bit of a curve, but it's pretty flat, not like the other one that really went full banana with its wetness. Yeah, so this is an interesting thing when working wet with watercolor, is like putting water down before getting started is an interesting thing to do. And I'm going to just put some Brilliant Opera Rose, hot pink, into the wetness and just see what happens. You can down here it's already starting to dry, so it's but we'll see. This is something I'm getting accustomed to. I have some experience with watercolor, but just seeing within the wetness, like how the different degrees of wateriness, how wet and just a bit damp, how that can affect the flow and the spread of the color. And the cool thing about wet media is just the actual, like the physicality of the medium itself is just so interesting, the way it flows and it mixes, and so it's really interesting to let that be a part of what's going on, just the way that the water makes the paint move. So what has been happening today, everyone? Been in the garden a bit with rabbits. I recently, for my birthday, I got a steel mace, a Garda mace, to swing around and strengthen my shoulders and improve my posture and stuff. So I do some gardening and then I go like swing around this mace. I've been following along with some instructional videos, and it's very interesting. And the rabbits today, one of them got out because we have this setup where we have this super safe enclosure, and then we take them out to the grass so they can be rabbits. And in their instinctual rabbitiness, they like to dig. So we've got this kind of cage set up that we can move around, so they're like protected, but if they dig, they can unprotect themselves. They can get out. And so far, we have not had predators in the garden that we're aware of. But when I went to bring them in tonight, I was like, oh, there's a rabbit missing. But she was just around the corner. She hadn't gone far. But she was trying out her digging rabbit powers, her ability to squeeze through tight spaces. It's very interesting to get to know these furry little creatures and their likes and dislikes. Does anyone else watching have rabbits? Have you ever had rabbits? Do you have any other animals in your life? Domestic or otherwise? All right, that's it. Portrait's done. Oliver's had a cold since Sunday. Oh, I wanted to put a timer on and I didn't. Now I'm doing it. Yeah, the angle of the face is missing a left ear. It's interesting. Yes, I'm glad I found the rabbit too. Oh, such a sweet little rabbit. It would be. I have invested so much of my own life energy into trying to give these little rabbits a safe place to exist, and it would be pretty devastating to have a if it was just lost and run away, that would be okay, but we've heard friends, one of the little kids, one of our kids' friends was over and he's like, oh yeah, we have rabbits too, and the weasel got one and there was blood everywhere, and like, oh, that's something that I would an experience I would choose to avoid if I have that choice. It's interesting now. I feel like there's kind of, whoa, it's so dark. There's it's interesting the intensity of the color here, but it's almost like too much. So I'm wondering about just picking some of that up and putting it elsewhere. So this is interesting. The original sketch that I showed you, which was done in ink, I drew the facial features first, and then I just took the ink, and I think that's actually where that whole technique started, where I just picked up the ink from what I had drawn and I started moving it around the page. And yeah, that was actually, I think it may have been the first one of those that I did, certainly in this sketchbook. And it was, although I haven't done anything as loose as that one, and I feel like that I really love the looseness, that was a decisive moment doing that, because I'm like, oh, I'll just take the ink from here and then I'll push it around with water. And that's something that I've been doing a lot this year. And this already, there's a lot more kind of, I don't know, there's a lot more going on in this than that brief little sketch. Uta had a white rabbit. His name was Nini Lopez. Rave222 has had many rabbits growing up. My mum used to put me into their enclosure when I was a toddler, when she didn't have time to watch me, and you'd have a grand time in there. That sounds like that would be really cool. I have not drawn my rabbits, Martina. So putting you in the rabbit enclosure started being a tradition after the time she found you hanging from the roof like a monkey, laughing manically. Wolverine, my grandpa used to have rabbits, loved the babies, but for the big ones it was quite common to also eat them for your grandparents. Yeah, that's the thing. Kira's, my wife's dad's grandparents, they were like self-sufficient. They grew their own veggies. They had rabbits that were food. I think the Sunday roast would be a rabbit, and yeah, it must be. That's also something I thought it's been very interesting to realize. Like, I was mowing the lawn today, and then I give the grass clippings to the rabbits, and then that grass becomes rabbit, and more rabbits potentially. So if you're looking for sustenance and you eat animals, then it seems like a pretty sustainable way to make more animals to eat. And that was a thing. Yeah, I guess that was just very much the case for many people. It is incredible how they turn weeds into more rabbits. I think it's fascinating. Lewis, to maintain a lot of humidity throughout the painting process, it's best to wet the back sheet as well as the surface to be painted. That also stops it from buckling, right? That's pretty advanced advice you're giving there. Where do you put it though? If you've wet the back, like I've just got it on a block. Back in the day, I would like totally wet and stretch and mount my paper before painting on it. This is before I really knew how to paint. I put a lot of effort into the process of preparing it, and that would kind of became a bit of a burden, because I put all this effort into stretching my paper, and then it wouldn't be very good, and I'm like, oh, such an involved process, just getting it ready, and then so I have placed a lot of value on the spontaneity. And I see here this is getting really wet and it's getting warped and stuff, but if I'm able to just start wetting it. Tell us about that. What are you painting on? So I've just got this whole block of paper here which is taped together, and it's only wet from the top. But that was something that Corinna said, that spraying some water on the back will also help to deal with it. But feel free to share your watercolor wisdom, Lewis. You do amazing stuff. I'm sure you have a lot of experience, and I'm willing to learn, even though if it sounds inconvenient. Where's that other cool brush? The grease brush. I went shopping today at a hardware store for my project with the kids, and I got paint mixed in a paint mixing machine at a hardware store, and that was really interesting because they just take a white base paint and then they put just a little squirt of a few different pigments in there to mix the exact color that they have on their color charts. And I can't tell you what those exact colors are. Not exactly. I could tell you vaguely. Get out of there. What's going on? This needs to dry. And what have I done now? I wanted that there's like the brightness around here. There's something on the other one. It's just like the white of the paper shining through, which is easy, saves time, but it looks really cool. And now I'm just kind of like lessening my highlight everywhere. Who says to start painting you have to remove the shiny vision from the part of the paper where we're going to paint. You can achieve this by using dry goat hair brush to absorb that excess water. Also, you wet it take off the water, use a very absorbent kitchen napkin. The real humidity is in the back. Normally I don't use this technique because I use the first stains with a lot of water, and this way the humidity is maintained while I connect to colours. Yeah. I feel like I only partially understand what you're saying, but it sounds very interesting. Because the valleys here and the pools, they really have a determining factor on the way the paint moves and collects and what is possible. So I see that preparing the paper to make it as kind of reliable in its humidity as possible, predictable, I guess, that I see there would be great benefit in doing such a thing. Because now it's like I feel like I've got to let it dry. There are things that are going on which it's just far too wet. And that's really cool working with wet media, is when you let it dry and then you do another layer and you've got like all these the interesting edges around the shapes, like just around the eyes here, this shape, like where the pigment, as it's drying, it's gathering at the edge there, that those shapes layered on top of each other become really interesting. Hello, Tommy. You posted in Discord and said you did your first watercolor painting. Is that correct? There have been a couple of people recently like, I've done my first watercolor painting, and that's very exciting. So cool. It's a journey, but I feel like it's good to have people to take the journey with, you know? Like, it's so good that we're here together, especially in the Discord server, people sharing their work. Lewis has got so much experience and wisdom for all of us. Yeah, your first one, so cool. Wolverine, is there a way to restore a highlight if you accidentally painted it? A white pencil, gouache. If you've, or if you have really good paper, I think when it's really dry, you can even sand the surface of the paper. But if you don't have really good paper, you just destroy the paper by doing that. So it's super nice to be able to preserve the white of the paper for your highlights. But I, in the past, I have this gouache set that I bought, and I've only ever used the white gouache to restore highlights in my watercolor paintings. And just the last couple I did, look at this eyelash here, I added some white pencil on the highlights, and that was pretty cool. Like, I'm not afraid to draw on top of it, so drawing with white for the highlights, that's actually whiter than the white of the paper that I'm using. So this is a toned watercolor paper. Lewis mentions masking fluid quite frequently. You can tell us about that, Lewis. I have used masking fluid, and I have seen people do it amazingly, but I didn't much enjoy the process. There's a Danish artist, Jesper Asing, and he does like Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons illustration and stuff. It's like mind-blowing fantasy illustrations, and he uses masking fluid. And he has such amazing, intricate paintings. And I've used it a bit, but I don't know, something about that. I guess these things like preparing the paper, using masking fluid, there are all these things that can really contribute to having a lot of control and achieving the results that that you hope for. And there's a lot to be said for that, but I somehow enjoy the immediacy of just getting into it. And but that's also, it can be messy and very risky. Someone asked in the comments yesterday if they can donate money to me, and there are ways, certainly. I have a Buy Me a Coffee account, which is, there's a link in the description. I have a PayPal. I don't think I've linked that. When I do Tuesday sketch sessions, people generally pay with PayPal. But Buy Me a Coffee is also an alternative. It has credit card. If you're in Germany or Europe, I guess, some people who are super keen have my bank account details and occasionally will send me some money. Anyone who feels inclined to do so, you're very welcome to. Also, if there's any of these paintings that you see of mine and you like totally love them and would like to have it, basically everything's for sale. I rarely sell anything, but it's all for sale. I have a lot, nearly all of my work accumulating. And that way it could be like a donation, but you get something for it. What does everyone do with all their work? I imagine many of you, even those of you who've just been drawing along every day this year, you have a lot. It's interesting now because these are not in the sketchbook. Like the sketchbook has been really cool, but because I knew I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get wet with these pieces, I didn't want to put them in the sketchbook. So now they're like starting to accumulate more loose leaf pieces. Lewis says, the range of my colours are very powerful. They're like a fluorine colours. You love this quality of the brown of watercolours. Yes, they are Schminke indeed. Schminke is the paints that I use. Tommy asks, is it possible to read this chat after the stream is finished? It is possible. There are so many things I'd like to be able to read again later. Yes, there is. If you're watching the replay, there's something it looks like a box speech bubble, and you can toggle the live chat on. So if you're watching the replay, you can switch the live chat on, and you'll be able to read what I'm responding to. Yes, it's like down below where it has the description, and I think next to that it says live chat. You can watch it. In suggestions, Lewis can leave some paper preparation techniques. Yeah, that'd be cool, to maintain humidity as well as the use of masking fluid, or another way of masking. But so I think, yes, Tommy and Elizabeth, you can see all of the live chats of previous live streams. Yes, you can. Yeah, the fluorescence of these colors is like, when I first got them, I was like, whoa, what am I ever going to do with that? That's intense. But it's been interesting, having come from my solid foundation of natural pigments, which I love. I love like all these earth tones and botanical pigments and stuff. But then to have this intense, vivid qualities. It's very interesting. Yeah, and it's really interesting the range just within this, like the brilliant opera rose, that it can be so light, and it can at full intensity, just like so, such a wild color. It's very loud. But then it's interesting if you just have like a highlight in that color, like a little accent, it can be super intense. But when everything is that color, it's kind of like it's just, if everything's that vivid, it has a kind of a different it's the way it relates to the rest of the picture. Is not as intense. I'm thinking about stopping and drawing on top of this when it's dry. So with yesterday's as well, with Salish, it was really interesting doing that, having a brief time frame and really just diving into it and starting in that really wet and dreamy way, and then to return. And it didn't take much after it had like dried. Oh, the washing is done. After it had dried, it didn't take much to like I just added a little bit more. Actually, I went heavy on the brilliant opera rose in the moustache, and but time wise it was just a little bit more time dedicated to working on that piece, and it got to a stage where I was like, oh wow, it went from being super loose, which was a super cool foundation, to just doing a little bit more on and kind of wrapping it up, which was very, very interesting. So sometimes if we're painting something and it's like, wow, there's no definition and I can't quite understand what I'm looking at and it's all so wet, sometimes just letting it dry and then returning to it once it's dry, you can do really interesting things, either drawing on top of it or doing another pass with watercolor can lead to really, really interesting results. There's really not much definition I feel like I can get like in the hair, because this is all already at full saturation of this color. But if I were to draw onto it, I'd be able to like add another level of value and definition. If you are interested in learning really intimately with me and catching up with each other a lot, bye Cindy, my mentorship could be just the thing. If you go to my website, dylansara.com/mentorship, you can read all about it. I have had like almost, apart from the live streams, almost no time to work this week because it's been school holidays. But I will be sharing a bit more about that soon. It's and to my current mentorees, I will also be more available and more in touch in the coming week. yeah, it's really cool. It's such a cool way to learn together. And if you're interested in that idea of like a guided learning experience over the course of 3 months, then check that out. Get in touch. And the daily reference is actually initially what I thought would be a cool part of the mentorship, to have something just to practice every day, and in combination with working on like a deeper, more in-depth process with whatever it is that you would like to work on. All right, I think that's it for today. Yeah, I will tell you all of the colors in an upcoming live stream. That was definitely brilliant opera rose and transparent orange from the Schminke colors that I was using for this one. So let's have a look at this compared to, I don't know, it's a totally different image, but this was the one that kind of inspired this, and this is what I've done today. Very different. You could fighting for your life, trying to get proportions right with kids. It's like a next level challenge. If you've been trying to draw adults and then you try and draw kids, it's like everything's in different places, which is why I feel like the observational drawing practice, which I focus on a lot, is just like trying to perceive how things are in relation to each other is really helpful, because they may not be where you would expect them to be, but if you've got your eyes open for it, then you may kind of capture that. But yeah, it's tricky. It's a challenge. But this kid, I wonder, I hazard a guess, maybe, I don't know, how old would this kid be now? Would they see this? Who knows? But that's it for today. If you've made it all this far, all the way to the end, you can put your drawing hand emoji in the chat. This is probably destined to have some pencil work done on top of it, or do you think I should leave it as it is? We'll be back here every day for another portrait every day. Rave222, you've only tried to draw a few of the portraits we've done here, and that has also been hard. But this little fellow is indeed an extra challenge. Yep. And it's interesting. Like, this has been, I reckon I spent like 3 times as long on this as the other one. And I like this one more. There's like the simplicity of this. But I could put this up, I could open it, and it could be like a guiding star to try and invite that into my work. Lewis says, I think that in the state of agreement, the drawing lines with the watercolor pencil would no longer be necessary. Yeah. Thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you for being here. I look forward to seeing your work. You can tag me on Instagram here at Dylan Sara, and the collector, the curator of these amazing photos, all found photos. And maybe some of you even share to YouTube. Ike does. Ike has been sharing so many cool time-lapse processes of the portraits he's been doing in our streams. It's really great to see that too. Wherever you share, tag me. Hashtag drawing with Dylans. Tell your friends, maybe they'll come and draw with us too. And head on over to the Discord server, which is a cool place. That's where I share all the references there every day. You can go to the pinned posts and see the last 50 days worth of references, and you can just go through them all and sketch. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.